In today's video, I'm going to share with you my antique booth sales report for the best month for me in the year 2025, and that was the month of November. Now, November was a little bit atypical for me in terms of my sales, and I will explain why in just a minute. But my total earnings for November were $1,271.60. Now, this figure does include the 10% commission that I pay to the owner of the store on top of every single item that I sell, but it does not include the amount that I pay in rent. At our store, we pay $1.98 per square foot for booth rental, and my antique booth is a little less than 100 square feet. Now, the reason that November was atypical for me was because November and actually October and November are our two busiest months of the year. Our antique store is located in Ellijay, Georgia, which is in the North Georgia mountains, and it is a tourist town. So we rely heavily on the tourism industry in our downtown area. People come up to the North Georgia mountains in November and October to see the beautiful changing of the leaves, to experience the amazing weather that we have there, to go hiking in the North Georgia mountains, to come and pick apples. People just come up and rent cabins, and they also come downtown to shop with us and to dine with us. So that's the reason why November was my best month of 2020. For this video, I'm going to share with you a spotlight of several items that sold during the month of November. I'm not going to share every single thing that sold during the month of November because the video would just go on for too long. I will share things that I felt were a good representation of the things that I like to put in my booth, and items for which I knew I would be able to show you a good photo. So I will share how much I paid for the item, including the sales tax, how much the item sold for, minus the 10% commission that we pay, and then I will share with you the corresponding profit margin that that sale represented for me. If you are curious, the formula that I use to calculate profit margin, just go into the comments and type formula, and I will share it with you there. All right, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. I'm going to put this maker up on the screen so you can see the way that this maker is spelled, but I'm going to pronounce it Limoges. I have a tendency to want to say Limoges, but I don't think that's right. It is Limoges out of France. It was a covered casserole dish, and I had it for a very long time. I recently said in another video that fancy items with gold trim or just flowers on them that are beautiful pieces of china are difficult movers for me anyway. And in my area of the country, I paid $5.09 for the casserole dish. I purchased it at the beginning of 2024, so I had it for a while. It sold for $32.40 for an 83% profit margin. Now, these do sell for more if they are in perfect condition, and they will probably move quicker for you if you sell online. Mine had a problem with it, and this is just a word of advice that I have for you. You want to let your, I hope you can see this. I want it to focus. You want to let your customers know if there's a problem with your secondhand vintage piece by writing as is on the tag. And then I usually put an arrow to indicate to them to turn the tag, flip the tag over. And then I explain on the back of the tag what was wrong with it. This one had a chip on the lip, but you could not see the chip when the lid was on the casserole. So it really wasn't a big deal, and it didn't affect the look of the dish. It didn't affect the ability of the dish to make casseroles. I'm a believer in telling the person what's wrong with the item on the tag. I don't think the customer or the cashier should be left to guess what is wrong with the item. Who really has time for that? I think you should tell them what's wrong. I've seen some people that just put as is but don't explain what's wrong, and I just don't feel like the customer should have to guess. That also would never work online. If you've got a vintage item with a problem, then you need to explain it carefully and take good photos of what's wrong with it. So I just recommend complete transparency. If you're going to try to sell something that has a problem with it, then tell the customer what the problem is. I'll go ahead and mention that at the end of the video, I'm going to do the cat of the day again because I had a viewer who said that she missed it, and I wasn't really sure if people actually enjoyed it, so I hadn't put it in the last couple of videos. But now that I know that someone missed it, we'll do the cat of the day, and then I do have some footage of a dog walk at a lake near our house to show you at the end of this video as well. Next up, I had a Soviet milk pail that sold. It was vintage. It was $4.10. I sold it for $16.20. So it really sold for $18, but this $16.20 includes the commission that I paid to the store owner on every sale. That was a profit margin of 75%. Next, I sold 2 lovely hand-painted soup mugs. The company was Tundra. They were vintage. They were $1.71 a piece. They both sold for $10.80 a piece, and that represented an 84% profit margin for me. One of my favorite makers is Fire King, right up there with Pyrex for me. I sold 2 ramekins in the pattern Blue Heaven. It was a very cool looking mid-century modern pattern. The colors pink and turquoise were both very popular kitchen colors in the 1950s. These were $1.17 each. I really struggled with whether or not I should keep them for myself, but I decided to put them in the booth. They sold for $9 each, and I forgot to write down the profit margin for that, but I'll show it to you here on the screen. Next was a beer stein. It was by Budweiser, and it was the 2013 holiday beer stein. People collect these Budweiser beer steins. They have them in different years, and they have them for different holidays. I paid $5.45 for this one. It sold for $17.95 for a profit margin of 70%. Now, although I've said in previous videos that although I love Pfaltzgraff, it just doesn't sell very well. For some reason, people really like these pedestal mugs. I guess they just like the shape of them, and I do too. So when I see them in good condition, I pick them up. These were the Yorktown pattern. They were 86 cents a piece. Wow, that was really good. I wonder where I found those. Goodwill, maybe? And they sold for $7.20 a piece. So I have noticed that as long as it's not the village pattern, which is the yellow with the brown, most of the other patterns will sell, but it just takes a while for them to find their buyer. Next, I had a really nice 1-quart CorningWare casserole in the pattern Spice of Life. It had its lid. I paid just $1.49 for it, so I got a really good deal on that. And it sold for $19.80 for a very nice profit margin of 92%. Just a word on profit margin. This is an area where I'm going to improve my videos for the year 2026, starting with my January sales. My profit margin does not include the rent that I pay, and I'm going to solve that problem by just taking the amount that I pay in booth rental and dividing that by the number of items that sold during the month. So that is going to change and fluctuate quite a bit, and it is going to affect my profit margins where they won't be quite this high. So that's coming up just in an effort to improve my videos and provide the most accurate information that I can. This next item was something that I had for a couple of years, and it was just a strange size because it was like, it wasn't miniature, but it wasn't full size, so it was somewhere in between. It was a strange size. It was a cream and sugar set by Royal Sealy. See, I do buy these fancy flowery china pieces, and I have them sitting in the booth for a very long time. But I do pick them up when I find them, and they are in good condition for a good price. I paid $3.31 for this. It finally sold for $28.80 for a profit margin of 89%. Next up, I sold a Johnson Brothers Old Granite is the name of the pattern, gravy boat. I paid $0 for it because I got it as part of a gift haul, and it sold for $14.40. So since I paid $0 for the item, that represented a 100% profit margin. Sometimes when I'm doing these videos, I can remember the thrift haul video that I did when I found the item, and this is an example of one of those times. I found this baggie at Value Village, and it had 3 stone critter dog figurines in it. I paid just 72 cents a piece for them, and the West Highland Terrier sold. It sold for $12.60 for a lovely profit margin of 94%. So if you're interested in watching that video where I found those stone critters, I found a lot of other good stuff in that video as well. I'll put that video in the end card. I'm really sad that that Value Village closed because it was just such a great sourcing store for me. And apparently Value Village, which is also called Savers, has closed multiple locations across the country. It's a huge loss for resellers and just for the community in general to buy secondhand quality items. This next one was something where I remember the people who bought the item because I happened to be there the day that it sold. Because I'm only at my store 2 days out of the month, those are our 2 required work days. So in addition to our booth rental, it's based on square footage of the booth, the 10% commission that we pay on every sale. We also are required to work 2 days where we don't work in our booth. We work for the benefit of the whole store. So basically we work the cash register. And these 2 Pfaltzgraff bowls sold, and these are newer. The pattern is Aster, and it's a very lovely pattern. I paid $1.49 for each bowl. I also got these at Value Village. Each bowl sold for $10.80 for a nice profit margin of 86%. I sold 4 blue cornflower dinner plates. Now, this is the pattern that was made in the 1980s. So this was the newer pattern, and I actually think it's really pretty. It is a raised pattern, so you can feel the design. I paid $1.29 for each plate. Each plate sold for $9 for a profit margin of 86%. There's something about these German Beehive stem goblets that I really like. I'm a big fan of Kelly green. You can probably tell because of my shirt. My Afghan that I placed behind me that I got at the Fodak thrift store. I did a video on when I found this too, but I just love that color and I love that beehive design. Unfortunately, I didn't have a pair. I paid $1.49 for it. It sold for $14.40 for a lovely profit margin of 90%. Next up, I sold a pie pan by Emile Henry out of France. It had the lovely ruffled edges, which would just make the most beautiful ruffled appearance on your pie crust. I paid $5.45 for it, and it sold for $27.90. One of my friends who was working the register not long after I put it in my booth, she saw the thrift haul video where I was explaining how much I paid for it and how much I expected to be able to sell it for. And she texted me and said, Julie, that is worth a lot more than that. So I didn't know that. Sometimes pricing can be hard. It was too late for me to retrieve it from the booth and research the pricing more because by the next time I got up to Ellijay to my booth, it was gone. So it sold for $27.90. Here's an example of some Pfaltzgraff that, even though in my opinion the pattern is absolutely lovely, it took forever to sell. The pattern Windsong, like I said, it's one of my favorites. I sold the sugar bowl, which had a very interesting shape, unlike any other sugar bowl I think I've ever seen. I paid $2.14 for the sugar bowl. It sold for $13.50 for an 84% profit margin. Also, during the same pay period, the salt and pepper shakers sold in the same pattern. I paid $4.28 for the pair. The pair sold for $14.40 for a profit margin of 70%. Next up, these were a dud. I will say that. I was excited about them when I found them. I got them at an estate sale. I got them for just $1.07. I have only sold one, and that estate sale was last summer. I thought that they were great. I put them in the thumbnail of the video saying, if you see these, get them, because from what I was seeing online, they were selling for good prices. Also, people love the color cobalt blue. It turns out nobody's really making parfaits anymore. So these have just sat and sat. I have only sold one out of the 8 of them that I have, and it sold for $8.10 for a profit margin of 87%. Did I mention I paid $1.07 for it? I did. They were each $1. I don't have a sales tax exempt certificate. I don't have any good excuse for why I don't have one, because estate sale companies will honor your certificate, and you can present your certificate if you have one and not have to pay sales tax. It adds up. So it will improve your profits if you have one of those. All right, this was lovely. Finally, something that wasn't kitchenware. It was an Art Deco perfume bottle. It was probably from the 1930s or 1940s. I paid $0 for it because it was a gift from our pet sitter when she was clearing out her mom's knickknacks, basically. The perfume bottle sold for $19.80 for a 100% profit margin. I should also mention, if you're ever lucky enough to get a gift haul, like someone tells you that they have a bunch of stuff that they're trying to clear out of their house, I don't like pick through the boxes and say, oh, I want this, but I can't use this. I gratefully accept all of it, and then I pick through the boxes on my own time and sell what I can sell, keep what I want to keep for myself, and donate back the things that I don't feel that I could sell, or the things that are broken or damaged in some way. These were my worst two sales for the month of November in terms of the profit margin. The first was a piece of Pyrex. Now, I love Pyrex. That and Fire King are the two things that I just am obsessed with and always have been. But it's really hard to find Pyrex in good condition. Goodwill does not put it on their shelves. They put it instead in their online auctions, and then they make a killing on it that way. So they have trained their stocking employees, I guess, on what to look for in terms of Pyrex. But I found a Pyrex royal wheat divided casserole and paid $8.56 for it. It sold for $21.60 for a profit margin of just 60%. So that was fairly low for me in terms of profit margin. And then the other one was a Glasbake casserole with the lid. The pattern was called Atomic Daisy. For some reason, I paid $10.70 for this, even though it was Glasbake. Ordinarily, I would not have paid $10 for a casserole unless it was Pyrex or Fire King, but I did. I liked the milk glass look of it with the blue daisies on it. It sold for just $19.80 for a profit margin of only 46%. So those are my two duds for November in terms of profit margin. And finally, our cat of the day. As I've explained in other videos, I'm not going to worry about the fact that it's not the actual day, because the day that I'm filming this is not going to be the day that you're seeing it anyway, because it takes me some time to edit the video and upload it to YouTube. But this beautiful tabby is named Indiana, and it says, Indiana is enjoying a moment of reflection before another action-packed week. Indiana was named after Indiana Jones, and he still acts like a kitten at 17 years old, says his human, Kathy Diamantopoulos, I probably mispronounced her last name, from Haverhill, Massachusetts. This young at heart tabby still chases his tail when the mood strikes him. Here he is thinking about his next adventure. When he's not being chased by rolling boulders, that's from Indiana Jones, the fearless kitty can't resist cuddling on a warm lap. He is a kind and gentle soul, Kathy says. And look at how pretty he is with his beautiful green eyes. All right, well, I hope you found today's video valuable, just in terms of what my best month in the antique booth looks like, and also in terms of what kinds of things are selling for me in the North Georgia mountains in an antique booth, and the profit margin that I am able to earn on those items. So thank you again for watching today, and as always, I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.
We're going on an adventure. Bear, are you excited? Bear.
think she's gonna get one. Nobody wants to smell one. Oh, a baby. There's a baby over there. I think they're talking about you guys. They might be talking about you, Ruby. They might be talking about you, Bear, and saying, what is that even? What species is that even? A very interesting looking dog, Bear.